Hello children, good morning. Hope you all are good. Your exams are over, your note submission is over. Don't sit back and relax. Keep watching your lessons and keep writing your notes. So today let us learn about the hydrosphere. It is lesson 5 in geography, the hydrosphere. So what is hydrosphere? The amount of water that is there on the earth, in the air and everywhere, that is called as hydrosphere. The water that is present on land, in air and wherever even a single drop of water from a large ocean, we call it as hydrosphere. And on earth, do you know how much percent of water is there? About 71% of earth is filled with water. So on earth 71% of it is filled with water. And what are the uses of water? We use water for drinking, we use water for cleaning, we use water for washing. And not only human beings, plants also need water, animals need water. So without food also we can survive. But can we survive without water? It is very hard for us to survive without water. And there are many other advantages with water. Do you know how electricity is produced? Electricity is also produced by water. Even factories need water, industries, all these require water. Let us have a look on water cycle. So water is continuously changing its form. So we know that water is having different states, like we can see water in vapor form, in liquid state and in solid state. So now let us see. So when sun's heat is falling on oceans, lakes and streams or on any other water bodies, what will happen? The water that is there on oceans, lakes and all, what will happen? It will raise in the form of water vapor. Due to sun's heat, what will happen? Some amount of water will go up in the form of water vapor. So we call it as evaporation. Even we all know that if we boil some, if we take a vessel and if we put some water in that and if we heat it, what will happen? We know that we can see some water vapor will be raising up. So that process is called as evaporation. In the same way, when the sun's heat is falling on oceans, lakes and all, what will happen? Some amount of water will raise up in the form of water vapor. That process is called as evaporation. And the raised water vapor, what will happen? After reaching to a certain height, it will cool down there and it will change into liquid form. Which is there in the vapor form, it is changing into liquid form. And this process is called as condensation. And so after condensation, what will happen? Clouds will be formed. All this liquid form, what is formed, that all together will form a cloud. And when two clouds meet together or when two clouds saturate, we can see precipitation. Precipitation is nothing but it comes down to earth in the form of water. We call it as rain. So first water vapor will be formed, it will raise up and it will change into liquid form, and this after condensation clouds will be formed, and when clouds are saturated, precipitation will be formed. Precipitation means water falls down to earth in the form of rain. So again, where this rainwater will go? Again, this rainwater will fall on land and on oceans, and also this is a cyclic process. It will continuously happen. So this is a cyclic process. So we call it as water cycle. Now let us have a look how water is distributed. So on earth, we are having 71% of earth is filled with water, and in that 97% of water is there in oceans and seas, and 2.5% of water is present in rivers, lakes, ponds, groundwater, so 97% of water is there in oceans and seas. And do you know how the water will be there? It will be saline, means the water there will be salty. So the water there in oceans and seas will be saline. That means the water is salt in taste. And can we drink salty water? No. This water is not suitable for drinking. And some animals like fishes and aquatic animals can survive in oceans and seas, but humans cannot use this water for drinking and for their works. And rivers, lakes, ponds, groundwater, all these are good water, or we can say it as fresh water. So for our daily needs, we use this fresh water. We depend on rivers, lakes, ponds and groundwater for drinking. So this water is fresh water. Only 2.5% is available for us for drinking, and 97% is saline water, and we cannot use this water for drinking. Now let's learn about ocean circulation. So we know that water is not always in still. It will be keep on moving. We know that water will be keep on moving. So the movements are of different types, and we name it as waves, tides and currents. These are formed by different factors like temperature, gravitational pull, and by the force of wind. These waves, tides and currents are formed by the temperature, gravitational pull of the earth and by the force of wind. Now let us learn everything. Waves. The water on the surface of the ocean rises and falls alternatively. So we know how a wave will look. The wave will be like this. So alternate rise and fall of ocean water is called as wave. Alternate rise and fall of ocean water is known as a wave. And do you know how waves are formed? When wind is blowing and when it is meeting with the surface of the water, waves are formed. If the wind is coming forcefully, then the bigger wave will come. So depending upon the wind, the waves, it might be a smaller wave or bigger wave. Everything depends upon the wind flow. If the wind is coming fast, or during storms we can see waves will come, bigger waves will be coming. So everything depends upon the wind force. If we see the importance of waves, waves are used for coastal community, especially for fishermen, and these are used for shipping industries. Waves are important for shipping industry, and waves are also useful to predict weather. Tides. The periodic rise and fall of ocean water is known as tide. So what's a tide? The periodic rise and fall of ocean water is known as tide. It is somewhat similar to wave, but it's not. Wave means the alternate rise and fall of water is called as wave. So here tide means, suppose this is the normal level of water. So in a day, what will happen? At a particular point, the water level will raise up. So this is called as tide. And when it is raised up, we call it as high tide. And when it subsides, we call it as low tide. The level of ocean water will raise up to a height that we call it as high tide, and when it subsides we call it as low tide. And there are two factors which cause tides. There are two factors that are causing tides. The first one is the gravitational pull of moon and sun on earth, and the other one is earth's rotation. So these are the two factors, the gravitational pull of moon and sun on the earth and earth's rotation. These are the two factors that are causing tides. And as we know that the moon is much more closer to the earth than sun. So moon is having greater effect on earth. When the earth is facing the moon, the gravitational pull of the moon is grabbing all the ocean water towards itself. So when the earth is facing towards the moon, the gravitational pull of the moon is taking all the ocean water that is there on the earth towards itself. The ocean water that is there on the earth is moving towards the moon because of the gravitational pull. To understand in a better way, like if we take a magnet and if we take an iron, what will happen? Automatically the magnet will absorb the iron substance what we are having. So in the same way, the gravitational pull that is there on the moon is absorbing, or it is taking the water that is there on the earth towards itself, and thus causing a bulge. Thus causing a bulge on the earth. Bulge means the water that is there on the ocean is moving towards the moon, thus forming a bulge, and we call it as tidal bulge. We call it as tidal bulge. It is formed due to the gravitational pull. We know that when the earth is facing towards the moon, because of gravitational pull, we can see tidal bulge. But why it is having another bulge on the opposite side? Because of centrifugal force. That you can study later on. Due to centrifugal force, the other side is also bulged up. And in a day we can experience two high tides and two low tides. So here where it is bulged, it is called as high tide, and here this side it is not bulged, so low tides are formed. So in a day we can experience two high tides and two low tides. Let us learn about spring tides and neap tides. So first let us see what is a spring tide. In spring tide, the sun, the moon and the earth are in straight line. The sun, the moon and earth are in straight line. So all these are exerting combined gravitational pull. The sun, moon and earth, all these are exerting combined gravitational pull. So thus forming bulge on both the sides of the earth. So the ocean water is raising up both the sides. Thus it is forming high tides and low tides are formed here. So this occurs twice in a lunar month. This occurs twice in a lunar month. So the spring tide means the sun, the moon and earth are in straight line, and all these are exerting combined gravitational pull, and this combined gravitational pull is showing a bulge, or the ocean water is rising on both sides of the earth, and thus high tides and low tides are formed. The high tides are little higher than usual and the low tides are little lower than usual, and this happens twice in a lunar month. Coming to neap tides, here when the sun and moon are in right angle with each other towards the earth, then it is said to be in quarter phase. When the sun and moon are in right angles with each other towards the sun, then we call it as it is there in quarter phase. And here when this happens, the pull of the moon is cancelled by the pull of the sun. The pull of the moon on earth is cancelled by the pull of the sun. Suppose if two persons are holding a thing and they are fighting for that thing, what will happen? One has to compromise. So in the same way, the moon gravitational pull is partially cancelled by the pull of the sun. So it is called as neap tide, and thus two high tides will be formed and low tides will be formed. The high tides that are formed are little lower than usual, and the low tides that are formed are little higher than usual. And this also occur twice in a lunar month. The neap tides also occur twice in a lunar month. Now let us see the importance of tides. Tides are used by sailors to enter harbour. They enter when there are high tides and they leave when there are low tides. And tides are also used in generating electricity. And tides are also important for fishermen to catch more fish. Tides are used by sailors to enter harbour. They enter when high tides are there and they leave the seashore when low tides are there. And tides are used to generate electricity, and tides are important for fishermen to catch more fish.